Hi, 10th grade. I miss you all. Hope you all are doing well. Had a numerous technology challenges today, so I'm sorry I'm getting this video posted late. But we do need to talk about Hitler today. And please forgive me. I cannot see my camera. I can't see my timer. And I've got to keep this under 15 minutes or YouTube doesn't allow it to get posted. So I'm going to talk really fast, okay? So let's talk about Hitler. We've talked about Italy and how Mussolini came to power by force. Hitler, however, came to power gradually and maybe not necessarily through election of the general people, but basically he took over and the people were willing to listen to him. So it makes a big difference. Let's talk about why that would be the case. So first of all, let's look at the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic is the government that was formed in Germany at the end of World War I. The problem is that the German people were thrown from a dictatorship type of style of government into a republic, and they didn't know how to do it. They were very inexperienced. They had no set of ideals, I guess I should say there, that prompted them to want to have a republic, but they just chose that. They were all rather apathetic towards their government, and they didn't know they just didn't know how to do it. They also had a lot of political parties in Germany. We're talking like dozens. So it was really hard for one political party in particular to gain enough power to control the government. So those are some of the faults with the Weimar Republic. So when Hitler comes to power, he kind of takes advantage of some of those faults. But let's talk about his early years. Hitler was not an outstanding student in school. He was just kind of an average student. Didn't really like school that much at all, except for history class, which is just kind of weird. He tried to join the army after he finished high school and go serve in World War I, but he was declared unfit for service. So he wandered around kind of aimlessly for a little while until he found the Bavarian Reserve Infantry, and he joined that group and became a messenger during World War I. He actually was at one point wounded as the result of the war and received the Iron Cross not once but twice, interestingly enough. It's kind of similar to our Purple Heart. He was greatly resentful at the end of the war that Germany signed an armistice. He felt like Germany should continue fighting until they won. And he did not like the fact that Germany accepted responsibility for the war in the War Guilt Clause. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, so the Nazi Party. After his service in the war, he joins this Nazi Party. Nazis are the National Socialist German Workers' Party. National Socialist German Workers' Party. And there's a lot of different names in there, but basically they're trying to appeal to a wide variety of people in Germany. National, socialist, workers, they're trying to have a wide variety of appeal. So anyway, the Nazi Party has a group of stormtroopers that work for them called the SA. It's a longer German name and it's in your textbook, but I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it. They're basically street thugs that are doing and pushing their agenda on the German people. Eventually, as they increase their power, they're going to do away with the SA, and they're actually going to kill off members of the SA to get rid of them. But then they form the SS, and the SS will take them through World War II. But part of that SS is the Gestapo that's mentioned here. This is a group of secret police that make sure that everybody is doing what the Nazi Party wants. And as they gain power, the Gestapo gains power as well. Let's talk about the Beer Hall Putsch for just a minute. This is an event that Hitler himself planned as part of, when he joined the Nazi Party, within a year he was made the leader of it. Tells you something right there. So he has the leadership of the party, and it's called the Beer Hall Putsch because they actually planned it in a beer hall. Okay, so they're sitting around planning this while they're drinking beer, and it really wasn't a good idea, but they're caught. This is like a government uprising is what they're planning. And when they're caught, Hitler's thrown in jail. While he's in jail, which he only served, I think, 1 full year in jail, he writes his memoirs, Mein Kampf, the next thing on my list here, Mein Kampf. And this book, he tells all of his grand ideas about how the German race is superior to all others. That Aryan race is what he called it. He lays out his ideas of what he thinks Germany needs to be and how the Jews are to blame for all of Germany's problems. The swastika they take as their symbol for the Nazi party. It literally means broken cross. Okay, so how does Hitler rise to power? Sorry, I need to give you a chance to look at that picture there. He looks so ridiculous. Now, how in the world does he rise to power and become such a big deal? Well, for a couple of reasons, and let's look at these. Actually, I think I have 4 reasons. First of all, the Weimar Republic was weak and inefficient. We've already talked about the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic. Weak group. There's too many political parties. They can't agree on anything. They just are not efficient at all. And then the Nazis also are able to exploit the anger of the German people against that war guilt clause in the Versailles Treaty. Hitler wasn't the only German mad about it. Thousands and thousands of Germans were upset about it. And Hitler and his party exploit that. Then there's economic problems. Remember, we're in the heart of the Great Depression here. It's not only affecting America, it's affecting the entire world. And those economic problems, detailed in your book, if you look on page 482, it talks about how much money it took to buy simple things in Germany. The number of marks equal to $1. In July of 1914, 4.2 German marks equaled $1, but by November of 1923, it was 4.2 billion marks that equaled $1. Just the inflation and just a horrible economic position led to the Nazis being able to take power. And then Hitler and the Nazis were violently anti-communist, which to us seems weird because we think of socialism and communism as very similar. But in reality, they hated each other. The Soviets, the communist Soviets in Russia hated Hitler, and Hitler hated them. So it was a mutual hatred there that went both ways. They didn't realize how similar in thought they really were. And then the last point I want to make is Hitler really did have a charisma, a leadership that drew people into the Nazi party. We can't see this because we think he looks like a weirdo, but he wasn't. And the people loved to listen to him. They loved what he had to say. So I know we don't realize it. But anyway, these are some examples of German propaganda. No, I can't read them. I have no idea what they say. I know the first one over here on the left says something about the German student. But that's about all I can read. All right, so the number of the Nazis in the Reichstag, which is the German parliament, are gradually going to grow to the point that Hitler is asked by von Hindenburg, who is the leader he's the president of Germany at the time. He's asked to be like the assistant chancellor. And Hitler refuses it. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. Because he knew elections were around the corner and he could get a better position. So elections come and the Nazis actually lose a few seats. But still, Hitler goes to von Hindenburg and he says, I want you to make me chancellor. And Hindenburg feels kind of trapped in that. And he's like, well, I guess so. Yeah, we'll make you chancellor because the Nazis have enough power and we need one of them in the government. So Hitler appoints him Chancellor of Germany. The following year, he puts forward a bill called, hold on, I gotta find it. A bill called the Enabling Act. And in that Enabling Act, he makes himself dictator. He suspends the republic and makes himself dictator. We already know that Hitler hates Jews, and he's going to make that very clear in the entire German country. How about Christians? Why would Christians put up with what he's saying in Germany? Well, a lot of them didn't speak out at first because they liked what he said at first. And then by the time they realized they needed to speak up, it was too late. And they would have died had they spoken up at that point. Some of them, unfortunately, went completely along with his plan, which I think is just a terrible shame. But they didn't speak up. There were German Christian organizations that tried to say that Hitler was going to be like Jesus, that he was going to come reveal himself and he was going to save the whole world. Well, that's just blasphemy. There's no truth in that. And how they could go along with it, I just don't know. So let's talk about his rule a little bit. He starts these 4-year plans. He has a couple of different ones. The first one comes along, he wants to end unemployment in Germany. And in order to do that, he starts rearming Germany, which was forbidden as a result of the League of Nations telling him could. Another part of it is he builds the Autobahn. And he attempts in the second phase of his 4-year plans to attempt at economic self-sufficiency. He wants Germany to make everything they need in-house and not have to worry about it coming from anywhere else. He also outlaws strikes. German workers could not strike, and all workers had to be a part of the German labor front. This basically lets him and his government control what every worker is going to make as far as their rate of pay, what hours they're going to work, and under what conditions they will work. He then also starts the Nazi program called Strength Through Joy, which gave them low, cheap vacations and entertainment so that they would be happy. And he also works to indoctrinate the youth of Germany into the Hitler Youth Clubs, where he puts forward propaganda for them and encourages them to love their country and that kind of thing. As far as the Jews go, and I got to be quick with this because I've got 2 minutes left, he starts persecuting the Jews right away when he comes into power. He deprives Jews of their citizenship first. And then November 9th and 10th of 36, 37, he puts forth a program called Kristallnacht. And in Kristallnacht, in one night, the German Gestapo attacks 7,500 Jewish businesses and 155 synagogues and just destroys the Jewish property. He forces Jews to live in ghettos, and it is not very long before he is opening the prison of Auschwitz. I got some pictures of that for you here. This is Kristallnacht, setting buildings and businesses on fire, forcing them out of their homes and into prison camps. All right, that's the end of that section. I hope you have a good afternoon, and I will see you soon.